One really cool thing about the guitar is there are a bunch of different patterns that repeat all over the neck. How to instantly solo in any key. Make sure to stick around to the end because you'll get some guitar solos that you can learn to play, which will put to use everything that I'm about to show you. And even if you know some of these things already, keep watching because I know you'll get something great out of this. P.S. Don't forget to grab your free cheat sheet that goes with this lesson. Alright, let's get started. If you want to start soloing today, all you need is this one box shape. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep building on this. The box shape will start with your first finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string. Using your 1st and 3rd fingers only, play 1-3 on the low E string and then 1-3 on the A string. That's the box shape. Now you might be wondering why I'm telling you the finger numbers instead of the fret numbers. One thing I wish I was told earlier when learning guitar is that you do not want to memorize fret numbers when learning scale shapes. If you memorize the fret numbers, then you'll get stuck in one key and it will be harder for you to move the scale shapes around later. Instead, you want to memorize the scale shapes and finger positions. This will allow you to move these shapes around to different frets and switch between different keys much easier. So starting on the 3rd fret of the low E string, we've got 1-3 and then 1-3 on the A string. That's the first place you can find this box shape. One really cool thing about the guitar is there are a bunch of different patterns that repeat all over the neck. This box shape repeats in 3 different positions. You'll see what I mean real soon. For now, we're going to add one more note which will help us move the shape to the 2nd position. So starting on the low E string, play 1-3, and next play 1-3 on the A string. Then slide your hand up 2 frets and play the 7th fret of the A string using your 3rd finger. Like this. Now your hand is in the perfect place to play the 2nd position. Starting with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of the D string, play 1-3, then move down 1 string and play 1-3 on the G string. Next, move your 3rd finger up 2 frets to the transition note right here on the 9th fret of the G string. Now to get to the 3rd position of the box shape, we'll have to move up 1 more fret. So from this transition note, move your hand up 1 fret so that your 1st finger is on the 8th fret. Then play 1-3 on the B string and 1-3 on the high E string. And once again, you can play transition note 2 frets higher on the 12th fret of the high E string. Here are all 3 positions of the box shapes moving forward. And here are all 3 positions of the box shapes moving backward. Try playing this in both directions and get really comfortable with it. Like I said at the start of this lesson, this is all you need to start being able to play solos. Now these won't be the coolest solos of all time, but we're going to keep building on this, so keep watching to see what we add next. Here's an example of me playing some lead guitar using just this box shape in the key of A minor. This will be played without any guitar techniques, just the box shapes. Make sure to give this a try with the free backing tracks I've included. Now that wasn't bad, but we can definitely make this a lot better. To make this sound 10 times cooler, all you have to do is add some guitar techniques. There are so many guitar techniques and different variations and combinations of them. But right now, I'm going to show you the only 5 techniques that you need to know to play awesome lead guitar. Make sure to follow along with the included tabs. The first technique is bends. And I know what you might be thinking. Wade, I already know how to do bends. Well, that might be true, but are you getting the most out of your bends? There are over 20 different ways to play a bend on the guitar, and I'm going to show you 4 of them in this lesson. If you want a really great example of different bends, listen to the guitar solo in the song November Rain by Guns N' Roses. The first bend I'm going to show you is the common full step bend. When doing a bend, fret any note, pick that note, and then while holding the string onto the fretboard, push the string up. If you're doing a bend on the A string or the low E string, I recommend bending the string down like this. If you try bending these strings up, there's a good chance you'll push the string off the fretboard and it will make a terrible sound like this. Bonus bending tip. You should always use as many fingers as possible to help with the bend. If you want to do a full step bend on the 7th fret of the G string with your 3rd finger, then you should also use your 1st and 2nd finger to help with the bend. By using your 1st and 2nd finger along with your 3rd finger, you'll have more power and control of your bend. When doing a full step bend, the note should have the same pitch as the note 2 frets higher on the 9th fret. This is a great way to make sure you're bending your notes to the right pitch. Here's an example of how you can practice this. To make sure you're getting the right pitch, you can also practice bends while using a tuner. The second type of bend is a half step bend. If you do a half step bend with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of the B string, the bent note should have the same pitch as the note 1 fret higher on the 6th fret. But you don't always have to do bends the same way. You can do a bend and release, bend, release, and a pre-bend release. Each one of these can be done with quarter step bends, half step bends, full step bends, or greater than full step bends. And you can also add even more variety by doing the bends slow or fast. Another technique that you need to play lead guitar is the hammer-on. To do a hammer-on, play 2 notes but only pick the 1st note. Pick a note on a lower fret and then while holding that note, hammer another finger onto a higher fret of the same string without picking it. Here's an example on the 3rd fret of the A string. You can also try this with open notes. You can use this technique all the way through the box shapes, up and down the neck. The third technique you need to know is the pull-off. To do a pull-off, fret 2 notes at the same time on the same string. Pick the note on the higher fret, and then while holding that note, pull that finger down and off of the string so that the lower note sounds out. Here's an example on the 10th fret of the B string. Again, you can use this technique with open notes, and you can use it all the way through the box shapes, up and down the neck. There are 2 more lead techniques I'm going to show you. The next technique is called the slide. To do a slide, pick a note and then while holding that note down, slide your hand up or down the neck. Here's an example of a slide up the neck. Here's an example of a slide down the neck. Once again, you can use this technique to move through the box shapes. You can see the tabs for this example. The last technique I'm going to show you in this lesson is vibrato. Once I've shown you this, you'll get a lead guitar example of all these techniques being used with the box shapes. Then we'll build on this even more with even more stuff that you can use to make your solos sound great. And I'll show you how to move this to any key. Vibrato is a technique that can take a long time to feel comfortable with. To do vibrato, pick a note and then while holding that note, rotate your wrist. By rotating your wrist, you'll bend the string and release the string over and over again. Vibrato can be done very quickly, very slowly, with a small pitch change or a very large pitch change. Here are some examples. So now you know the box shape in 3 different positions and the guitar techniques you need to have to play great guitar solos instantly. Bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, and vibrato. Now it's time for you to see a lead guitar example using the box shape and these 5 techniques in the key of A minor. And if you're enjoying this lesson so far, don't forget to subscribe. Now if you use just that box shape and the 5 techniques I showed you, then you'll be able to play some great lead guitar. But I still want to show you a bit more. Now we're going to add the first position of the pentatonic scale. The word pentatonic might sound a little scary, but don't worry. If you break the word down, it's just penta, meaning 5, and tonic, meaning notes. So it's the 5-note scale. The box shape that I showed you earlier was actually the pentatonic scale. The 4 notes of the box plus the transition note were the same 5 notes of the pentatonic scale played in 3 different positions. G, A, C, D, E. G, A, C, D, E. G, A, C, D, E. The first position of the pentatonic scale is where so many of the most famous guitar riffs come from. To play this, move to the first box shape position and then up 2 frets. We started our first box shape on the 3rd fret of the low E string, so this first position of the pentatonic scale will start 2 frets higher on the 5th fret of the low E string. Once again, instead of telling you which frets to play, I'm going to tell you which fingers to use. Use only 1 finger per fret and play 2 notes per string. Your first finger will be used for the notes on the 5th fret, your second finger for the notes on the 6th fret, third finger for the notes on the 7th fret, and your 4th finger for the notes on the 8th fret. Starting on the 5th fret of the low E string, play 1-4, then play 1-3 on the next 3 strings, then play 1-4 on the last 2 strings. The first position of the pentatonic scale looks and sounds like this. Try playing this both forwards and backwards. So now you know the box shapes in 3 places, 5 guitar techniques, and the first position of the pentatonic scale. But wait, there's more. You know that the box shapes I showed you can be played in 3 different places. Well, this first position of the pentatonic scale can be used in 2 different places. The first place is here, starting on the 5th fret. And the second place is 1 octave higher, starting on the 17th fret. These are the exact same notes, they're just 12 frets higher. Or in other words, these notes are up 1 octave. This is an A, and this is an A. This is a D, and this is a D. Jimi Hendrix was one guitar player that would often jump between these 2 octaves of the first position of the pentatonic scale. You can hear examples of this in his song Voodoo Child. If you want to take this one step even further, you can also move the box shapes up 1 octave. Take the same box shapes you already know and just move them up 12 frets. These box shapes would start on the 15th fret of the low E string. Knowing that, you can now play the box shape in 6 different places. So now I'm going to show you a lead guitar example using the box shape in 6 places, the 5 lead guitar techniques, and the first position of the pentatonic scale in 2 places. After that, I'll show you how to move this to any key. Now you've got lots of options for playing lead guitar, but you need to know how to move this to any key. So far we've been playing in the key of A minor. To move this to different keys, you need to know where the major and minor root notes are. A cool thing about the pentatonic scale is you can use the exact same position in 2 different keys. When playing this at the 5th fret, the first position of the pentatonic scale can be used in the key of A minor and C major. By looking at the lowest 2 notes of the first position of the pentatonic scale, you can figure out which minor key and which major key you can play in. Your first finger tells you which minor key you can play in. When your first finger is on the 5th fret, it's on an A note. This means you're in the key of A minor. When your 4th finger is on the 8th fret, your finger is on a C note. This means you're in the key of C major. So you can play this one scale position and the box patterns in the key of both A minor and C major. The notes of the scale do not change whether you're playing along with a backing track in A minor or C major. The only difference is the root note. When playing in A minor, emphasize the A note. When playing in C major, emphasize the C note. If you don't know how to find the notes on the fretboard, don't worry. There will be a link to another lesson that can help you with that. Bonus tip for root notes. Luckily for you, I've got a special shape to help you find the minor root note in the pentatonic scale. Using just this shape, you can quickly find the minor root note in 3 different places. If you use this shape correctly, you can play all 3 notes together and it will sound good, like this. If you don't play the right octave notes, they will not sound good together, and you'll know right away. Here's a shape for finding the major root notes. Once again, it's the same exact note, but they're played in different octaves. If you use this shape correctly, you can play all 3 notes together and it will sound good like this. And if you don't have the right notes, it will not sound good and you'll know right away. Alright, now back to the main lesson. Here's an example of me playing in the key of A minor and then C major. Notice that I'm using the exact same notes, I just change which notes I emphasize. Now let's practice moving this to a different key. Let's say you want to play in the key of G minor and A sharp major. Remember, when playing the first position of the pentatonic scale, the minor key is where your first finger is on the low E string. The major key is where your fourth finger is on the low E string. The third fret of the low E string is a G note, and the sixth fret is A sharp. So if I move my first position of the pentatonic scale so that it starts on the third fret of the low E string, then I know I can play in the key of G minor and A sharp major. And the box shapes get moved down 2 frets to here. Then I can also move the box shapes and the first position of the pentatonic scale 12 frets higher to find their octaves. So we've covered a lot in this lesson. You learned about the box shape and the 6 places that you can find it. 5 lead guitar techniques: bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, and vibrato. The first position of the pentatonic scale and 2 places that you can find it. How to move the box shape and first position of the pentatonic scale to any key. And you learn the 2 shapes to instantly find 3 of the major and minor root notes in the first position of the pentatonic scale. You've learned a lot, but there's still so much more to learn. More ways to use the techniques I just showed you, tons of other new techniques, cool combo techniques, lead riffs, licks and tricks, more scale positions, more scales, scale paths, tone settings, effects settings and layering, and how to use all this stuff to make your lead guitar playing sound awesome. If you enjoyed this lesson and want to learn even more about lead guitar, then click below to try my Guitar Fastlane membership. Right now I have a special offer for a short time and there are only a couple spaces open in the program. So act fast and click the link below right now to learn more. I look forward to seeing you in the members area and getting great results in your guitar playing. Thanks for watching.